I bet you guys have been waiting for me to cover this episode since I started this year, haven't you? Pop Goes the Diesel, the 12th episode of the second series based on the story of the same name from the Railway series book, Duck the Diesel Engine. This was the start of what fans called the Duck the Diesel trilogy for the TV series. And it introduces us to the first main villain of the TV series, Devious Diesel. Duck the Great Western Engine works very hard on the island of Sodor and everything goes smoothly when he is around. He can keep the coaches quiet, the trucks behaving, and the passengers happy. He is also very proud of his Great Western heritage and talks endlessly about it, which irritates the larger engines, who quickly grow tired of hearing about the Great Western Way. One day, a visitor arrives at the shed. The Fat Controller introduces the new engine as Diesel, stating that he has agreed to give him a trial, and charges Duck with showing him around and teaching him what to do. Diesel introduces himself before heaping compliments on Gordon, James and Henry, who are in awe by his flattery. Duck, however, takes a dislike to Diesel's oily nature and shows him to the yard, where it becomes apparent that Duck's dislike of Diesel is mutual as Duck orders Diesel to refer to the Fat Controller as Sir Topham Hatt before Diesel smugly tells Duck that he does not have to be taught what to do, saying that Diesel's know everything and come to a yard to improve it, dubbing himself as revolutionary. Duck is not impressed with Diesel's boasting and orders him to arrange the trucks while he leaves to take Gordon's coaches to the station. Eager for the chance to show off, Diesel quickly gets to work. When Duck returns, he finds Diesel trying to move some very old and near defected trucks with stiff joints and brakes from a siding. Duck decides to let the events play out and watches with interest. Diesel struggles to move the trucks and gets so forceful with them that some of their brakes snap and the gear jams in the sleepers, causing several of the trucks to derail and overturn in the process. Diesel tries to push the remaining trucks back, but he still cannot move them and is forced to give up. As Duck finally comes around carrying some other trucks, Diesel asks Duck why he didn't tell him about this when he had gone through so much trouble. Duck replies that Diesel never asked him and that he was having such fun being revolutionary. Duck leaves happily while Diesel fumes angrily. Diesel is later forced to help the workmen clear up the mess, a job that he hates, especially as the trucks have started laughing and singing a degrading song at him. When the cleanup is over, Diesel, now cross with the trucks and with Duck, steams off back to the sheds to sulk. This episode was the start of the Duck the Diesel trilogy, and it was our introduction to Devious Diesel, the first main villain for the island of Sodor. When he first arrives on the island, Diesel seems to be a very polite engine who wants to prove himself a really useful engine. But when he is alone with Duck in the yards, he starts to show his true colours of how oily he is and how very proud he is to be the first Diesel on Sodor. And he was also shown to be extremely boastful of how revolutionary Diesels were at the time, since he was introduced during the years when Diesels were introduced to the railways, as a possible replacement for steam engines.
Your worthy Sir Topham Hatt thinks I need to learn. He is mistaken. We Diesels don't need to learn. We know everything. We come to a yard and improve it. We are revolutionary.
Diesel is based on a British Rail Class 8 diesel electric shunter, one of the most iconic designs in railway, and this design would be used for other diesel characters in the future of the series. And this is another episode where Ringo Starr really puts his all into his performance, especially when he has to do Diesel's growls.
Pull, push, backwards, forward, we can't, we won't, we can't, we won't. Some of their brakes snapped and the gear jammed in the sleepers.
And I don't know if I'm the only one here, but this episode kinda scared me as a kid. Mostly with the scene when Diesel was trying to shunt those old trucks. Because of his shouting, the trucks' reactions, and Diesel's angry growls. It just scared me a little bit as a kid. But unlike Off the Rails, this episode never scared me to the point where I never went near it again. I just enjoyed it so much. Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell also give us a brand new version of the breakdown theme from Series 1, making it more tense than it was the first time we heard it. And I know the Troublesome Trucks were given their grey faces prior to this episode, but I wanted to save it for this episode because this is where we really got to see those faces shine. In the first series, their faces were originally just eyes and mouths glued onto trucks, but here they get the standard grey faces that we would know them to have to this day. And I love these new faces. It gives them the chance to show off their many expressions, and they look as mischievous as you would have believed the trucks to be. And we also get to see a new side of the Troublesome Trucks that isn't just teasing and mocking the engines and causing them to have runaways and crashes. It's their playful side when they make up an insulting song about Diesel after his mishap. And it also gives Sir Ringo Starr the chance to sin again.
Cooks are waiting in the yard, packing them with Diesel. Show the world what I can do, gaily boasts the Diesel. In and out he creeps about, like a big black weasel. When he pulls the wrong trucks out, pop goes the Diesel.
The title of the song Pop Goes the Diesel is a pun on the nursery rhyme Pop Goes the Weasel. And the tune was actually used as a bass for that song, and it's become one of the most iconic and popular tunes for the TV series. And when you listen to the tune without Ringo Starr or George Carlin's versions of the song, it makes them sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks because of their high-pitched squeaky voices. And I don't know if I'm the only one here as well, but whenever I hear the Troublesome Trucks laugh from the second series onwards, I always used to think they sounded like giggling monkeys. I don't know why, it just for some reason sounded very monkey-like to me. And with Diesel being introduced, it would also start a trend of the steam engines versus diesels thing that would go on throughout the TV series. And of course they take it much further in the third series. But this is where we get to see a nice glimpse of it. How diesels were being introduced to railways, and the steam engines were starting to become the thing of the past. But that would be expanded upon in the third series, which we'll get to next year. Pop Goes the Diesel is another one of those episodes that remains iconic and a fan favourite throughout the Thomas community. It's definitely worth a watch if you haven't watched it for a while. You'll be introduced to Devious Diesel, you'll get to hear the Troublesome Trucks' first song ever in the TV series, and it's the start of the rivalry between Diesel and Duck. So if you haven't seen it for a while, check it out, and we'll get to see part 2 of this story tomorrow. But for now, take it away, Sir Ringo Starr and Troublesome Trucks.
Cooks are waiting in the yard, packing them with Diesel. Show the world what I can do, gaily boasts the Diesel. In and out he creeps about, like a big black weasel. When he pulls the wrong trucks out, up goes the Diesel. Growled Diesel, and scuttled away to sulk in the shed.